Can you hear me? Yeah. All right, you guys at home can hear me. I want to get a little energy from you guys. We're getting ready. Who's ready for day 2? Everybody on Facebook Live, are you guys ready? Thank you for your patience. We had to reboot and we are back at it. And we are going to have an amazing day 2. Are you guys ready? I don't know if you're ready. I can't hear you. So you need to blow up that Facebook and start putting in the chats. Who is ready? I want to know who did their homework last night. I want to know where you guys are from, where are you tuning into, and what are you committed to for the next 5 days? Have you guys been doing your homework? Say yes. You guys at home that I could see you, the ones live, I want you guys to get up because you guys are in the VIP seats and I could see you. So Facebook people, if you're out there and you want to get up with us too, I would love it. I can't see you, but it is all about energy, right? So we are going to have an amazing, amazing, amazing day. And we're going to learn a lot of great stuff and you're going to be sitting for a while. So it's really good to just shake your body out before we get started and just put it in your body. Think about the commitment that you've made over the next 5 days. What is it that you're going to do differently? What is it you want to attract in your life? And you want to put it into your body. You want to get out of your head so you're not thinking about anything except your dreams coming true. Visualize them and feel them in your body now. Say yes. You guys get up with me and put it in your body. Let's shake it out. Let's get ready. Shake away all of anything that was bad today that happened and break free from any of the negative stuff. That's right, Samantha and Michael. Yes, yes, yes. You guys, all we're going to think about today are your commitments. What are you committed to? Are you committed to playing full out? If so, say yes. Type it in the text box there on Facebook Live. Shake it up. Yes, Crystalia, I see you. I want you guys to move your body, and if you're not committed to standing up, at least move your arms. Shake your head. Do something a little different. You want something different in your life? You got to do something different. You got to be willing to do what other people don't do. Yes. All right, the Facebook Live is blowing up. I love it, and I love seeing all you guys at home. Excited, getting ready on your feet. That's what it's all about, guys. It's the energy that you put out to the universe. We have a lot of things going on, and you're going to learn a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff in the head, but you got to get in your body and let go of some of that stuff, and just know and feel everything that you want, you can have, and you're going to make it happen. And we're going to help you make it happen, and we're super excited. Today, we're going to go give away some prizes later for the homework. I want to hear about some of your commitments. If you guys can post some of your commitments, it's all about putting it out there. You know, I mean, we have dreams, we have goals, big ones. Some of them can be scary. And we want to share them with others. We want to support each other. This is a community where we support each other, right? We lift each other up. We get people to do crazy stuff, like come out and just start jumping up and down. But this is the kind of stuff we need to do every once in a while. You can't just sit on your ass all day and think. Come on, let's shake it out and get into your body. Yes, I love it, Ruth. I need a pom-pom just like you. All right, I love it. And Facebook people, let's move it too. Samantha and Mike, yes. All right, Mike, there we go. I think, Hamad, man, you are almost there. There we go. We got you moving just a little bit. Okay. And Chris,
good week.
I'm waiting for you, man. Move the glasses or something. Like, let's go. There we go. All right, all right, all right. I love it. So for all of you people at home, where the cameras, if you have your camera, make sure you put it on so that we can see each other. Everybody can see you guys, and we can play full out today because it's going to be a great night. I mean, I love that Brian's on, but he's all red. I mean, who is this guy? He's just pure red. I'd love to see a smiling face there. That's right. All right, you guys, I love it. I see you, Rick. I see you. I don't want to say the name wrong. Kwande, is that how you say it? Am I saying it? I could call you Q because I know, that's always a good thing. All right, Sean, thank you for joining us. So excited you're here. And we got some Facebook people going on right now. So I love it. I'm committed to playing full out. Yes. All right, I see some Angelo Soto. I see you out there on Facebook. Anybody else on Facebook who's ready to go? We have Guillermo here. Did I just see Guillermo? Okay, Guillermo Lopez in the house. I see his lamp right now. All right, who's ready for Brad Sumrock? Are you guys ready? I'm not going to bring him out until I know you guys are really ready. So I see Mike. He's right. Let's go. Angelo, yes, let's go. Who else out there on Facebook is ready for Brad? I'm not bringing him out until I hear you guys. Come on. You guys at home too. Let's type it up in the chat and let me know if you guys are ready for day 2. All right. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Give me the energy. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Are you ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. Here he comes, Brad Sumrock. Woo!
This place up.
Yeah.
Let's blow it up tonight. Let's go.
All right, you guys at home. There you go. Let's see that Facebook. Yes. Woo! All right.
Let's go now. 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 Put it in the chat. Let's go now. Let's go now. Let's go now. Let's go now. Blow it up now. Let's go.
Yes. You got to celebrate first because life is already happening for you, you guys. Life is happening for you right now.
I'm celebrating them being millionaire multifamily investors. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's go. Go.
All right, you guys enjoy
day
2.
Let's get started. We have look, every night is short and sweet. Every night is short and sweet. Yesterday, man, we talked about the 6-step millionaire multifamily framework, okay? And we talked about how over 19 years, I have noticed patterns and trends of the thousands and thousands of people that I've came across that have came to my seminars. And I noticed these trends and I noticed these patterns. And there's 6 things that I really thought about and put together. And I said, you know, the people that really become millionaire multifamily investors faster than everybody else, and then the people that become the mega millionaire apartment investors seem like they have 6 things that they've mastered and have done. Okay, so we talked about that yesterday, and we talked about, let me go ahead and get the clicker. We talked about this framework, okay, and we talked about, okay guys, the clicker's not working. So we talked about, I could see it, but we'll get them to get that clicker going. So we talked about the mindset. Oop, now it's going too fast. All right, the clicker's going haywire, shitty fast. So, hey guys, could you manually put it on frame 1, okay, which is the framework. All right, so that's what happens when you don't know how to use tools. And yesterday I showed you my drill, right? I showed you the mechanics, and I was just going clicker happy. So here's the deal. We covered this framework yesterday at a high level. It's still going batshit crazy. Could I say that? Batshit crazy? Okay, but you guys can see it now, right? Could you see the framework? Mike and Samantha, could you tell me, could you see the framework? Okay, awesome. So yesterday we covered this at a high level. And we talked about mindset. I talked about mindset. And then how was Robert Helms last night? Don't you love Robert? Robert always over-delivers. And he's got such a great mindset, and he's got such a great connector ability. And one of the things I love about Robert is his ability to connect with other people. And through my relationship with Robert, I have been able to make some amazing, amazing connections that not only have enriched my life, okay, because look, connections enrich your life. But here's another secret that they don't tell you about. People love to do business with people. And could I just speak openly now that we're on day 2? Okay, all the people that didn't like me yesterday, they didn't show up today. So if you're here, that means you're in the right place. All right, you're in the right place. So look, I do business with people I care about. I'll also say it in a different way. I do business with people I give a shit about. And the people that give a shit about you, they want to do business with you. So when I first met Robert Kiyosaki, I learned from Robert Helms how to approach him. It wasn't like, hey, Robert, I want you to speak at my event. How do you think that would have went over? How do you think that would have went over? Has anyone heard Robert speak? Yeah, you've heard him speak here in my previous events. Robert would have been like, I don't care what the F you think you want. Who the hell are you? I'm a Marine. I killed better people than you. So you got to think about what it is that they want, what it is that you could offer them, or maybe, hey, Robert, I got 1,000 raving fans of yours. That's what I told him. Robert, I have thousands of raving fans of yours, and I'm a raving fan of yours, and it would mean so much to them if you could come on and speak for a few minutes. You see, he loves that, right? Because it's all about the people. It's all about them. It wasn't about me, okay? And through that mentoring and coaching that Robert Helms gave me, I've been able to be a better connector. And as a result, we do business now with not only people like Robert Kiyosaki, but Grant Cardone. And we do business with a lot of people 2 or 3 levels above me, okay? So when we look at these 6 steps, you really want to master them all. And mastering mastery is a science, okay? There are steps involved in mastering how to master something. And we talked about that. It's immersion, it's peer groups, it's accountability, it's mentoring. Okay, those are all the things that enable you to master all of these other steps. It's like the icing on the cake for every one of these steps. You need to master the mindset, the mechanics, the money, the markets, the marketing, and yes, there's a way that you can master being a master, okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And tonight, by the way, I have another friend of mine, and he's a good friend, and his name is Russell Gray, and he's going to be with me on the general audience tonight, and he's also going to go backstage, okay? So this is an invitation, again, to come backstage and be a VIP. So Russ is going to speak to all of us for about 20 minutes, and then we're going to go backstage, and he's going to save some information and some Q&A for that backstage opportunity. So by the way, the VIP backstagers yesterday, how was the backstage session? How was that conversation we had with Robert Helms and Dave Marcinkowski? VIPs, put it in the chat box and let us know how it was. Let us know how amazing that conversation was. I learned something from it. I learned something every time I listened to Robert and every time I listened to Dave. So here's the deal about Russ. Russ is a financial strategist, and so he's really good at teaching mechanics when you look at the 6-step framework. But Russ is also, unbeknownst to many people, he's also a master of influencing people. He's a master at how you can use your languaging and your marketing of yourself and your brand to win people over so that they want to do business with you. And as investors, that translates to how to get people to invest with you in your deals, okay? And so Russ is going to talk about some of that critical element tonight under the marketing. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is the 3 ways to invest in apartments and ultimately why we would want to be a GP, which is a general partner, why we would want to be an LP, which is a passive investor, or a limited partner, and why you might want to do your own deal with your own money. So I do all 3 of these. So I'm uniquely qualified to teach this because, here's the thing about me. I only teach what I do. If I haven't done it, I'm not going to teach it. If you ask me a question, for those of you that are in my mentoring program or in my mastermind program. If you ask me a question and I haven't done it, I'm not going to give you some bullshit answer. I'm going to tell you I don't know, okay? But there's a lot of things that I do really well with apartment investing, and one of them is being a GP or a co-GP, and the other one is being a passive investor, and the other one's buying my own deals with my own money. So, by the way, when you do a group purchase, when you do a syndication, you need to have a GP or multiple GPs, and then you need to have passive investors. Now, I saw yesterday, by the way, and I want to address this. Yesterday, there were a lot of people that gave us some feedback, and I love feedback, okay? But some of the feedback was, hey, Brad, this is over my head. They're using industry jargon. Well, remember the first time you ever went to a sports game and you didn't know the jargon? Can anyone remember a time when they went to a hockey game or a football game and you were with someone at a football game and they asked how many innings were in the game? Or how many, you're at a baseball game and they ask you about a touchdown or a field goal. Imagine you never heard that language before and you're at a football game and they say, okay, there's a touchdown. And you look around and you say, hey, I don't see anybody touchdown. Like, what happened? So it's just like that in multifamily. There is vocabulary, there's industry jargon, and some of these people are so smart and they're so good in their trade, and they're not professional speakers, and they're industry professionals, they're industry titans. But some of these people were not professional speakers, and so they just get off, and share their craft. So my request to you is this: you're in the right place, and you're learning even if you're confused. You're learning even if you're confused. Tony Robbins says, when you're confused, you're about to learn something, okay? So for those of you that are like, man, Dave was over my head yesterday. Yeah, you know what? He's over my head too. That's why I partner with him for property management. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Mike, you got that? Ruth, you got that? Guthries, you got that? The stuff that are over my head, I want to partner with people, okay? And so today we're going to talk about the 3 types of ownership, and I'm going to show you some numbers. And numbers are part of the mechanics. And then when Russ comes on, he's going to talk about marketing yourself. And some of you are not natural marketers, or at least that's what you've told yourself. But every step of this framework we are going to cover this week. So let's break this down and talk about buying this is going to be our base case, is buying a $10 million deal, 100 units. Now, I know what some of you new people are thinking, new to me or to what I teach. You're thinking a $10 million property, 100 units, I can't do that. Well, just bear with me here, because what I'm going to show you on the next 2 slides is you don't need to have all the money, okay? But if you're going to buy a $10 million deal on your own, you do need to have the money. So you're going to need $3 million down. We're assuming 30% down payment on every deal. We're assuming 70% debt, okay? And so on a $10 million deal, you're going to need $3 million down. And we're going to assume that their cash returns are going to be 10% a year. So if I go out and buy a $10 million deal, I'm going to assume I'm going to make $300K a year in cash flow. I'm also going to assume that I sell it and make a 50% gain, which means I would sell it for $11.5 million. 50% of my down payment is my assumed gain at the end of 5 years. And so I'm showing you all the numbers about how it would look if you went out and bought a 100-unit deal for $10 million with your own money. So you're going to get your depreciation. 100% of the depreciation is going to go to you. So check that out, by the way. You buy a $10 million deal, and your 1-year depreciation is about the same as your down payment. That's right. You'll get a $3 million tax write-off in the year you buy the property, which will save you $1.1 million in tax. Now, Tom, tomorrow, my friend Tom Wheelwright, is going to really hone in on taxes tomorrow, okay? So if we look at this individual deal over 5 years, you're projected to double your money. You're going to get cash flow, and then you're going to get sales proceeds, and then after 5 years, you should have a 2 times equity multiple on your deal. That's before we factor in the tax. When we factor in the tax savings, the returns go way up to 27% average annually and 135% total. Now, by the way, some of you have seen this before. I have some of my top students that have been with me for years tuning in tonight, and I have some people that are brand new. And again, if you're brand new, you might think, Brad, where are you getting these numbers? They don't make sense. I'm trying to do the calculations. Just bear with me. These are assumptions and examples, okay? Now that we covered the base case, I'm going to show you what it looks like as a passive investor, okay? And so the passive investor base case is, we're going to show the base case at the top, okay? We're going to show that 100-unit property, $10 million, and what it would look like for you as a individual investor. Now, as a passive investor, we got to understand that there's going to be passive investors, and then there's going to be general partners, okay? And the general partners get paid to be general partners. And guess who pays the general partner? The passive investors pay the general partners. So the assumption here is that 80% of the cash flow and 80% of the sales proceeds goes to the passive investors, and 20% of the cash flow and 20% of the sales proceeds goes to the general partners. You picking up what I'm putting down? Just let me know in the chat you're following me along. Go ahead, just let me know that, because I want to know how we're doing out there. Anybody? Okay, good. We're following along. It sounds great. So as a passive, let's assume that you invest $50,000. And now we have this 80-20 split. So what does that look like for cash flow? Well, if it was an individual deal with no GP, you would get a 10% return. But as a passive, 2% of that 10%, or 20% of that 10% goes to the general partner. So if you see on the slide, the passive is going to earn 8% a year, which is $4,000, and 20% of the cash flow goes to the GP, okay? And the same with when we sell the deal. When we sell the deal, there's going to be a 50% gain on your $50,000, so that would be $25,000, okay? And the passive is going to get 20, and the GP is going to get 20% of that, which is $5,000. So passives, I want you to see how the GP is getting a disproportionate share of the cash flow and the sales proceeds. Does everybody see that? How the GP is getting a disproportionate share. So go ahead and type in, yes, Brad, I see that. And you might say, well, that's not fair. Well, look, the GP is the one doing all the work. The GP is finding the deal, analyzing the deal, securing the debt, raising the equity, managing the asset. Okay, they're doing everything so that the passive investors don't have to do any of that work. Okay, now the passive investor, you're still going to get your $50,000 of depreciation allocated to you because depreciation follows ownership. Okay, so your total return as a passive is going to be 80% over 5 years compared to the base case of an individual investor that would have a base case of 100% over 5 years. Okay, so that's what you could expect as a passive investor. And now I've kind of set up the next scenario, which is being a GP. because what I wanted to show you here as a passive is how the GP is getting a split of every penny that comes out of the deal. Okay, the GP in this model of an 80-20 split is getting 20% of the cash flow, and they're getting 20% of the sales proceeds. So, by the way, getting 80% return over 5 years, or a 16% average annualized return, is pretty damn good. I mean, how many of you would like to get 16% returns on your money right now? Go ahead, blow it up, let me know. Yeah, man, I invest passively. Okay? I invest passively with my students, and like I'm selling a deal right now. Crystal Lee, my student, is selling a deal right now. I'm totally passive in that deal, and we're going to make 84 or 85% over. Crystal Lee, what's the returns for the passives?
About triple.
So I put in 50,000. How much am I going to get out in 3.5 years?
You're going to get about 110.
I'm going to get 110,000 out of the deal. I put in 50, and I'm going to get 110. So that means my 50,000 turned into 160,000, I think, because I'm going to get the 50,000 back. I'm going to get the 50,000 back and 110 in profit. That's pretty dang good. That's like a really high rate of return for me being a passive. Now, that being said, is there anybody here that wants to go faster? If you want to go faster, blow up the screen. Raise your hand. Type it in. Yeah, Samantha, I see you. Yeah, Guillermo. Yeah, Mike. John Brock and your son there. I see you guys. I see you, Ruth. Blow it up, because the way to go faster is to be a GP. Okay? Now, GPs, y'all are going to get 10 to 20 times more money. 10 to 20. And let me show you how. Okay? So number one, GPs, you should always put money in your deals. So just like the passive, you're going to get a return on your money. Step two, you get additional carried interest. This is the split. It's often called the promote. You'll hear it in the industry, the languaging, the jargon. There's a promote in the deal. So if you're talking to someone and they say, what's the promote? Promote is the GP compensation. And so in the example that I showed you in the base case, it was an 80-20 split. There are different ways you could do a promote. You can have preferred returns. You can have waterfalls. I'm not going to cover all of those complex ways to do it. I like to keep it simple in my deals and just do a straight split between the GP and the LP for every penny that comes out. So as a GP, I'm going to put out money. That's number one. And I'm going to get a return on my money. Number two, I'm going to get the split, say that 20% split. That's in addition to the money that I put in. Number three, I'm going to manage the asset. And so I'm going to get a fee for managing the asset. And number four, I'm probably going to take an acquisition fee. Okay, and I've seen people take disposition fees. So there's multiple ways you could get paid as a GP. So these are the four main ways that GPs get paid, and there may be some others. Okay, so now I'm going to show you on the next slide how the same deal, the $10 million deal, with the base case, we did the individual investor. Then I showed you the returns for the passive investor. And now I'm going to show you what the returns look like for the GP. So there's the base case there again, $10 million deal. That's the individual investor case. Now, is a GP, get this, guys and gals, is a GP, I need $3 million of equity to buy a $10 million deal. But I don't need it to be my money. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? If you got 50 grand, you could be a GP. Yeah, John, I see you. John Brock, I see you picking that up. Look, for 50 grand, instead of going out and buying a rental home, you can now be a GP of a $10 million deal. So you put up 50 grand and we still get the 80-20 split. Now here's the deal. On your cash flow, you're going to get the same return as a passive. So that's the 8% return. But your split is 20%. Now the deal returns $300,000 a year. Remember that was the base case? So the GP is getting 20% of the $300,000. So the passives are getting $4,000 a year, and the GP is getting $64,000 a year. Do I have your attention yet? Say yes. Do I have your attention? So if you're passive, you're getting $4,000. If you're the GP, you're getting $64,000. Now, when we sell the deal, the passive is getting $20,000, but your GP split is $300 because you're getting 20% of that upside of the deal, 20% of the upside. So the passive investor, again, gets 20. The GP is putting up, the GP is getting 320. Now I'm going to get a 1% acquisition fee when I close the deal. 1% of 10 million is 100,000. And I'm going to earn a 2% management fee based on the rent collected, and based on the examples that I showed here, that's 24,000. And here's the deal: as the GP, I'm going to get the same depreciation as the passive based on my equity contribution. So here's the deal: when you add all this up, it's a big difference. In fact, it's a 10x difference. It might even be a 20x difference. Okay, so if we look at the slide here, we got the GP putting up $50,000, and that $50,000 is going to be worth $910,000 over 5 years. Versus the passive, the $50,000 goes to $90,000. So here's the deal, guys and gals. Passives are going to get great returns for doing little to no work. GPs are going to do all the work, and they're going to make 10 times the money. So here's the question: which one do you want to do? Okay, which one do you want to do? Now, for me, the way, do y'all remember yesterday I showed my net worth grow exponentially, not incrementally? That's from being a GP. So in the 35 deals that I've done, I'm a GP in like 27 of them. I'm a GP in 27 of the 35 deals. So there's about 4 that I primarily am the main investor. So those are deals that I've done with my own money. And then there's about 4 or 5 where I'm passive. Okay? So there's another thing that I didn't even talk about here, and that's being a co-GP. Because you see, being a GP takes a lot of time. And so what we do within the Sumrock group is, let's say, you know, I'm going to buy a $10 million deal. I might find one other person that will be a co-GP, and they'll help me analyze the deals, manage the deals, raise the money for the deals, get the loan for the deals. Hey, guys, did the Zoom cut off? Because I lost everybody here on the screen. I don't know if they could still hear me and see me, but the screens here went totally out. So both of these went out. So okay, that's fine. So the VIPs, you all could still see me, and everyone on Facebook, okay, great. All right, so I'm just going to keep blowing and going. So, yeah, so here's the deal. Being a GP could take a lot of work. And so look, I am almost never the sole GP. That's the secret. I'm almost never the sole GP. Most of the time, I'll get 1 or 2 other people, and we'll GP a deal together. So here's the deal, like the 620 unit deal that I just bought in January, the biggest deal I ever did ever. I'm one of 4 GPs in that deal. we raised $46 million and got an $80 million loan. Okay, and we divided up the work. A deal I just closed yesterday. Do you remember I showed you yesterday the deal I closed, the Alpine Creek deal? I shared it right here in the challenge yesterday. There's multiple GPs in that deal. And so I love I love one of the comments that says the co-GP is the sweet spot. So look, the co-GP, Sharon Riddle, you're right, is the sweet spot. If you are the only GP, then you get all these benefits yourself. But you got to do all the work. And so the sweet spot is being a co-GP. And this is where newbies fit in too. So if you're new and you want to be a GP in a deal, how do you approach an experienced general partner and be a co-GP? Now, what did we learn from Robert Helms yesterday? Do you come up to them and tell them why you want to be in the deal? Why you want to be in the deal? Or do you come up to them and tell them how you can help them? What are you going to do for them? Are you going to find the deals? Are you going to help them find the deals in a market they're not in? Are you going to help them analyze the deals? Are you good with underwriting? Are you going to help them raise the money? Okay? Are you going to help them manage the deal? And so is a new multifamily investor the shortest path to being the millionaire multifamily investor? Obviously, it's mastering the 6 steps, but you're going to want to get in as a co-GP with somebody else and add value to them. And again, the main ways to add value is find deals, analyze deals, raise capital, and manage deals. Okay, so if someone came up to me and said, Brad, I'll find the deals and I'll help you raise the money and I'll manage the deal, and you could convince me that you can do that, then I would love to GP with you. And I'm not just, this is not an offer. This is just saying, like, this is how we do it. Okay, I saw a lot of questions yesterday on the chat, like, could people co-GP with each other in the Sumrock group? This is how we do it, okay? So I'm going to go back to this slide here, and I just showed you the chart. I compared the GP with an LP, and it was like 900,000 to 90,000. So I think this might be a duplicate slide. Let's see, yeah, invest 50,000. We got the GP LP split. We got 64,000 a year in cash flow, 320,000 a year at the sale, $100,000 acquisition fee, 24,000 in asset management per year, and then the depreciation. So again, I think the numbers here are a little off from the last one, but basically it's 50,000 to about $880,000 or $900,000 versus a passive is 90. So this is a big difference, okay? It's a big, big difference. And this is why so many people come into the Sumrock program and they want to be a GP and a co-GP. Now here's the other thing. A lot of people that are GPs are also passive investors, okay? Because you know, you can only do so many deals at a time. And there's a lot of people in our program that have a lot of money. And so, like, you know, I could pick out some of my students, like, you know, Bonnie and Carrie Staples. They have GP'd 9 deals, but they're passive investors in like 34 deals. And then somebody like the Guthries, they're brand new. They came in March or in January into the program, and they did 3,000 units as a GP or something like that. They did 11 deals. I'm sorry, 3,000 units as an LP. They came in and did a bunch of deals as a passive investor, and now they're doing their first GP deal, okay? So there's lots of room for both within the Sumrock program, within the Sumrock ecosystem. So what I wanted to do today is really set the table for, you know, the 3 ways to invest, and really focus on what this guy does, Grant Cardone. Okay, so everybody knows this guy. Grant Cardone is the GP of Cardone Capital. Okay, and Grant Cardone takes 35%. He doesn't do an 80-20 split. It's a 35 to Grant, 65 to the passives. And this is how he is blowing up his, he just bought Tommy Hilfinger's house in Miami Beach. Did you know that? Grant Cardone just purchased a $27 million mansion in Miami Beach that Tommy Hilfiger used to live in. So here's an example for me, by the way. These are 2 sales that I did in early 2020. And I was a co-GP in both of these deals. The first deal that sold on February 20th, 2020, I put in $100,000. And you can see what I got deposited in my bank account the day we sold. Now, I also got cash flow from that deal. And then 15 days earlier, at the bottom of the screen, I put $100,000 in that deal, and I was a co-GP, and you could see the $887,000 that was put in my bank account. So this is just an example of how powerful it is to be a GP on a large deal. Okay, so look, everybody out here can do it. I was just like y'all, okay? My background is college. I was not an A student in college. I was a B student in college. I struggled in corporate America. And I just figured out how to master the 6 steps of the framework to become a millionaire multifamily investor. And then I started teaching it and sharing it with other people, okay? So I want to share with you guys my GP goals for 2021, and then I'm going to give you your homework assignment. And guess what your homework assignment's going to be? Can anyone take a guess what your homework assignment's going to be? Who wants to guess what your homework assignment is going to be? I'm going to show you my goals. Do you think it has anything to do with your goals? All right. So these are my goals for 2021. As a GP, I'm going to earn 10 times my investments. I'm going to be a co-GP in at least 4 deals, 150 units or larger. I'm going to invest at least $150,000 in each deal. Some of these deals I'm going to invest more than $1 million. Okay? And in less than 5 years, I'm going to earn over $1 million from each deal in profit. So look at point number 2. 2 deals have already closed this year as a GP. 1 deal I put in $150,000. The $150,000 was a smaller raise. It was a $9 million raise. Now listen to me. Oh, a small raise is $9 million. Well, that doesn't sound small when you're first starting out. Okay? So when you first start out, your first raise doesn't need to be $9 million. You go after a $10 million deal, your first raise will be $3 million. And by being part of an investor community and learning how to market yourself, which Russ is going to speak about, you're going to learn to master those skills of raising money. Okay? So by the end of this year, I'm going to have raised as a team over $65 million to do 4 deals. Are you picking that up? I'm going to be a part, I'm not going to raise all $65 million myself, but the City Center deal in Houston, I raised $8 to $10 million out of the $40 million raise. The deal we just closed in Tyler, Texas, I raised about $4 or $5 million out of the $10 million. And then there's going to be a few more deals that I have coming down the pipeline, and I'm going to raise about 40 or 50% of that money, of the capital raised there. Okay? So here's the deal. For those of you that learn the 6-step framework, including how to market yourself, if you look at bullet point number 3, I am always trying to improve how to improve my brand, how to improve my marketing, and how to improve my messaging. And not just for my seminar business, for my investing business. Okay, these are 2 separate businesses. I'm not up here today talking about my seminar business. I'm here talking about my investing business. Okay? And the 6 steps to being a millionaire multifamily investor. So now I want to ask you to come up with your homework, and your homework the top 3 people that submit the most compelling answer is going to win a monetary prize, like an Amazon gift card of like $50. And by the way, Krista Lee is going to come on here in a minute, and she's going to announce the winners from yesterday's homework, okay? So here's your homework. Take a screenshot. For those of you that want to be a GP, and by the way, let me hear from you. Blow up the screen now. Who wants to be a GP? No, not who wants to be a GP. Who is absolutely committed to being a GP in the next year? Who is committed? If you're committed, write out your goals. What are you committing to investing? And why must you become a master of raising money? So here's an example. I will be a GP or a co-GP of X number of deals and 5 to 10 times my return. I want you to describe the deals in detail, the size, the shape, the location, how much you intend to invest, how much you intend to raise, and why you must master the art of raising money. Your financial future depends on it. Listen, man, I'm just telling you. You could go along to get along. You could go to your 9 to 5 for the next 40 years, sit in traffic, bitch about your life. You could stand by and watch other people do it. Okay, there's 3 types of people in this world. There's people that watch what happens, there's people that wonder what happened, and there's people that make it happen. Okay? There's 3 types of people getting on the bus. Okay, there's the bus driver, that's the GP. That's the people that get on the bus, that's the passive investor. And the people that miss the bus is the rest of the world. Okay, so whatever the F you do not miss the bus. Okay, get on the frickin' bus. And maybe you'll be a passive investor, but I'm telling you, the way you're going to become the millionaire multifamily investor faster is by being a co-GP and a GP. Okay? So who's ready to get on the bus and who's ready to drive the frickin' bus? Say yes. Let's go now. And write out your goals. All right? You got the homework? So let's bring up Haley Gantt. One of the things that you got to master when you're a GP is raising money. And a lot of the investors that you're going to be raising money from have cash, and a lot of the investors don't have cash, but they have self-directed IRAs, right, Haley? Yeah, I don't know if, yeah, could we hear Haley? I can't hear Haley. I think your microphone's on mute, Haley.
I just unplugged my Yeti mic. Can you hear me?
All right, we can hear you now.
All right.
So,
Not sure why the other button
so
wasn't working.
hey, it's good to see you.
You too. Long time no see. It's been a whole, 3 days?
I know. I was just on a Quest event on Saturday, and Haley, I don't know if you've been able to hear what I've been talking about, but I've been talking about being a GP and how important it is for people to master the art and science of raising money, and that's why we're having you on tonight, because this is really where you fit into the picture, is that, talk about self-directed IRAs, give people a little overview of that and why it's so important. And I'll just tell everybody listening, usually when I do deals as a GP, about 20 to 30% of the equity, as much of that amount comes from self-directed IRAs, people with self-directed IRAs. So it's a big chunk of money. So, Haley, I'll let you talk for a few minutes.
Awesome, Brad. Well, thank you guys for having me here tonight. It's always a pleasure to be here, be a part of y'all's events, and I have actually been to myself. I watched it on Facebook last night, and tonight I've been watching it backstage through Zoom because you cover so much great content in these challenges. So to get right into it, I have just a few short minutes with you guys tonight, so I have a few bullet points that I do want to get through. But my name is Haley Gantt. I'm a certified IRA specialist with Quest Trust Company. And just like Brad was saying, Quest can be a huge help to you guys as you are raising capital for these apartment syndications that you are putting together. A lot of times, a big chunk of that capital comes from self-directed IRAs. So at Quest, we teach investors how to not only utilize their old 401ks and IRAs to really get the most of that money and learn how to invest it into places like real estate and multifamily deals, instead of having all of your IRA funds in the stock market and publicly traded securities that at the end of the day, you don't really have control over where that money is invested. So when it comes to multifamily investing, having a good relationship with a strong self-directed IRA custodian is something that I believe is extremely vital. It's something that we really care about here at Quest, is not only acting as the administrator over the IRA accounts, but really going the extra mile to build out the relationship with our clients and with you guys who are going out there and you're actively raising capital for these deals that you have going on. So as a multifamily investor, as you're raising capital for deals, you're not just dealing with one person's IRA, you're probably dealing with maybe 10, 20, even more people's IRAs. When you're doing this in your deals, it is so important to have a strong relationship with an IRA custodian who is there for you, who can answer all of your questions, and who can really, at the end of the day, make sure that these deals get done and your investors have a smooth process when they're investing their IRAs into your deals. So that's exactly what we do here at Quest. We do a ton of education. We will be at NatCon, which I am super excited about. And whether you're raising capital for deals or whether you are maybe newer and you're maybe not ready for that yet and looking to be a passive investor, or even like Brad said, a lot of you guys do both. A lot of the general partners are also passive investors into other people's deals. I want you guys to think about that example that Brad just gave where he invested $50,000 into Crystally's deal, and at the end of the 3 years, he is going to get back $110,000 in profit. Guys, there's a lot of passive investors out there who would absolutely love to get that return in their IRA. And at Quest, we can make that happen. We'll walk you through the whole process and we'll make it a smooth process on you guys. So I would recommend go ahead and reach out to us after my intro ends here. I'll hop on back in the Facebook chat because I'm going to be watching the event anyways. But I'll put our contact information in there. We're always happy to help. We want to build relationships with you guys. And when you're successful, we're successful, and we love to be a part of it. So, Brad, that's all I got. I think it was under 5 minutes.
Awesome, Haley. Thank you so much for
guys here again.
thank you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on and for adding so much value like you always do. And everybody listening up, Haley's the real deal. So get with her and Quest Trust Company, get your self-directed IRA open, and be ready to invest it in deals. Let's go.
Let's do it. See y'all later.
All right. And next up, I'm going to bring out our next speaker, and he's been patiently waiting, and there he is, Russell Gray. Russ, could you hear me? I think he's frozen.
Yes, I can hear you, and now you can hear me.
All right, Russ, I don't know if you heard any of the other material that I was talking about, but what we've been doing so far is talking about this 6-step framework to become a millionaire multifamily investor. And we just talked about people that want to be deal syndicators or general partners, and how they need to master a lot of different steps. And one of them is the art and science of raising money and influencing people. And I couldn't think of anybody better than you to come on and talk about that topic.
Well, good. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so he's frozen on here. All right, so everybody, Russ is frozen, but we could still hear you, Russ. So take it away. I'm just going to let you talk for 20 or so minutes, and then we'll be back and giving away the prizes, and then we'll bring Russ back on for the backstage VIP. Let's go, Russ.
Okay. All right. So I don't think I've managed to share my screen yet, but so let me go ahead and do that since I want to make sure that I can do that, and you guys let me know if you're able to track with me. Let's see, I lost my Zoom thing that lets me share the screen. Here we go. Okay, if I did that right, you can see my screen now? Yeah? Somebody tell me yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to spend the next little bit that I have with you, and thank you for allowing me to share. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I've been in sales and marketing really all of my career, and I've applied that to a variety of different things, mostly in business to business sales and in financial services. I've owned mortgage companies, I've owned insurance companies, I have been an investor, I've syndicated. So a lot of the things we're talking about in terms of apartment investing definitely apply, because the basics of business is business. And I think one of the most important things people need to understand is that when you go into business, you have to think like a business person. You have to act like a business person. If you think about businesses, they spend a lot of time and effort developing, refining, promoting, protecting their brand. Their brands are very, very important. And you're no different. And a lot of us are haphazard about it. We don't put any thought into it, or we have maybe started into this business with less than an optimal brand, and we've got some things to clean up. But the point that I want to make is that branding, like investing, requires a goal, requires a strategy, requires a plan, and requires disciplined execution. And not a lot of people teach it. And when you go out there to raise money and attract deals, you're going to need to make sales. And you may think, well, I don't want to be a salesperson. Well, most people don't want to be a salesperson because they don't want to be pushy. They don't want to have to ask for things. There's a whole psychology behind that. But one of the easiest ways to make selling easier, or best ways to make selling easier, is to build a very strong brand. So if you see my screen correctly, I need to just change one thing here, and that should have advanced. So Brad and I have gotten to be good friends with this gentleman, Robert Kiyosaki. Most of you know him as the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But he is a lifelong entrepreneur, lifelong investor, and he got to a place of modest financial independence in his late 40s and decided to share it with the world. So it's something that Brad, Robert Kiyosaki, and my partner Robert Helms and I all have in common, is we love to teach. We love to see other people take the things that we've learned in life and go out and become successful. One of Robert Kiyosaki's lesser known books is a book he wrote called Before You Quit Your Job. So if you're out there and you're thinking about becoming a full-time real estate investor, a full-time syndicator, I encourage you to read this book. And one of the things he says in this book is all entrepreneurs need to be good in sales. And so if you can't accept that, if you're not willing to become whoever you need to become good at that, then you need to think twice about being on the active side of this business. It's fine if you earn a lot of money and you live below your means and you save and then you want to invest that money passively with someone. But if you're going to be on the active side of the business, you're going to need to know how to sell, and you're going to need to be good at it. I call sales your most important skill. Either you know how to sell or you work for someone who does. Sales is really an essential survival skill. I'm very glad through a set of kind of haphazard circumstances, I ended up getting great, valuable training and experience in sales. And I really believe you could drop me in any town where I could speak the language, where I didn't know a soul, put me in any business, and I would find a way pretty quickly to ratchet my way up to the thought leaders, the movers and the shakers in the industry, and I'd be able to generate revenue to sustain myself, attract the resources I need, and build a business. I've done it several times. I got wiped out not once, but twice in my life, mostly because I was so busy working on my business, I wasn't paying attention to my balance sheet, and that was a big mistake. I've learned to be smarter since then. So I could do a whole thing about it, having a balanced approach. But right now we're focusing on brand and the role it plays in helping you become effective in selling, which is really the lifeblood of your business. It's an essential survival skill. So there's a difference between marketing and selling. Marketing are all the things you do to kind of tee up the sale. It's everything that people think and feel about you and think they know about you before they ever meet you, before you ever open your mouth, before you ever pitch a deal, before you ever ask for any money, before you ever negotiate anything. It's your reputation. And these days, your reputation is painted by a lot of other people. not just you. Anytime you're out and about, someone takes a selfie and posts it to their Facebook page and tags you, or same thing in LinkedIn or whatever. And all of a sudden people are painting a picture of who you are, who you hang out with, what's important to you, what you do, what you believe in. Some of that stuff you may be proud of, some of the stuff not so much. I think my caution to you is to immediately start taking stock of how you show up in all of those places and begin becoming strategic about the picture you want to paint. Because marketing is really brand building, and brand building is the tee up for successful selling. And to help you understand that, let me just talk a little bit about what I call the power of positioning. So positioning, sales is all about persuasion. If you're going to ask someone to change whatever they're doing, move money from where it is to you, give a deal to you and not to someone else, to come to work with you and give you their best effort versus go work with someone else, follow your lead, your vision, your dream, your business plan, and not do their own thing, that's all about sales. And it's all about persuading people. Well, persuasion is all about positioning. And if you get the positioning right, then your words have a lot more weight and people tend to follow you better. That's the power of a brand. Let me give you an example. If this guy, a homeless dude, showed up and crashed our meeting and said to everybody, hey, I want you to sell stocks and buy real estate, we probably would kick him out because he's interrupting. He doesn't look very qualified to have an opinion. So, get out of here. But if this guy walks in the room and says the exact same words, we're all going to defer. We're going to sit down. Mr. Buffett, please come in, sit down, take the mic, take the stage. We're all going to take notes. He says sell stocks, buy real estate. Probably as the words are leaving his mouth, we're on our phones to our brokers selling stocks and calling up Brad and saying, hey, help me find a deal. In other words, the words weren't the difference. The difference was the positioning. The difference was the brand. The difference was the reputation of the person who is saying the words. So sales isn't about saying the right words. I mean, you have to say the right words, but it's also about making sure that you have painted yourself as someone who's qualified to have an opinion. And so you have some work to do that. Now, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on that because I'm going to come back to that in just a minute, but I do want to hit this one slide. I do a presentation at our event, the Real Estate Guys radio show, which I didn't even tell you who I am, so sorry about that. I'm the co-host of the Real Estate Guys radio show. And when I'm not giving presentations, I'm doing the radio show and the YouTube channel, and then of course next week Brad and I and Robert Kiyosaki and a whole bunch of people are going to be together for our annual investor summit. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. Which kind of ties into what I'm about to talk about. When you go out to the marketplace, what you want to ask yourself is, who's my target market? If I'm going to raise money, I got to say, well, who's a good candidate? Well, obviously people that have money. So that would be number one. And you have to kind of ask yourself, well, what do they need? What do they need? Do they need ROI? Do they need protection of principal? Do they need cash flow? Do they need tax breaks? Do they need asset protection? Real estate and real estate deals, especially private placement syndications, offer a lot of benefits to investors, maybe more than you realize. And the thing is, sometimes, if you're on the front end of your money-making career, you're thinking, oh, everybody's going to want big ROI. Well, you know what? Not everybody wants that. Robert Kiyosaki did a presentation for some syndicators for us on the Investor Summit at Sea a few years back. And he goes, look, here's the thing. Don't go out and try to sell people like you sell me the way you sell yourself. In other words, he says, I'm already rich. I don't really worry that much about making more money. I worry about protecting the money I have. And one of the big problems I have is taxes. And so a syndicator that we trained in our program, Dave Zook, who hopefully someday you'll get a chance to meet, he went out and he realized that there were a lot of people out there that had tax problems. And so what he did is he put deals together that solved their tax problem, and he's raised nearly $300 million in 7 years, mostly helping people with their tax problems. So the message here is, when you go out to the marketplace, don't assume that people want what you want. Try to figure out who your target market is and ask yourself, what do they need? And that's step number one. Step number two is, how can you find them? Where do they congregate? And it could be they listen to certain podcasts or watch certain YouTube channels, they go to certain conferences or seminars, they follow certain influencers, they read certain magazines. Whatever it is, you have to try to figure out, where do they congregate? So where do I have a chance to be in what we call a target-rich environment, a well-stocked pond? Brad does a fabulous job of bringing both passive and potentially active syndicators or investors all together into meetings that he creates both online and in the real world. It gives them a chance to get to know each other and build relationships and get in a position to do business. And so that's how he's handled that problem. That's what we do. We create environments and we visit other people's environments and we all cross-pollinate. We all like to run around where the kind of people that we're looking for are. And so if you're a wallflower, if you're the type of person that doesn't like to get out and mingle with people, you're going to have to get over that, or you're going to have to align with somebody who does like to do it, because that's a big part of being in this type of a business. The next important thing is moving into the idea of how do you get in position. You have to ask yourself, well, who influences my target market? Who are they listening to? Like a lot of people in the real estate space and in the entrepreneurial space are influenced by Robert Kiyosaki. They've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I can't tell you how many purple book stories we've heard about people that read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it completely changed their way of thinking, it changed their way of behaving, and eventually it changed their life. But there are other influencers out there as well. And so one of the important things to do is follow them, read their work, listen to their podcast, try to find out what words, phrases, ideas, strategies they're embracing. Because if you sound more like the types of people that the people you are trying to recruit into your deals listen to, then you're going to have a better chance of influencing them. Also becoming an influencer, because you're going to sound more like influencers they already know. And of course, you're going to enhance your own education anyway, so it's a good thing to do. And then you can also find out that when you find out if they're influenced by people that you don't care for, that might be a demographic you don't want to work with, right? I mean, it's only money. There's a lot of money out there. There's no law that says you have to do business with people you don't care for, that don't believe in the things you believe in. So don't feel like you have to. But one great way to understand your target market is to understand who influences them and listen to those people, because those ideas are resonating with your target market. So there's some homework to do, but it's worth the time. Now, the next one is the next level up. And this is something that I think my partner Robert and I have gotten pretty good at. Who influences the influencers? In other words, who do people listen to? Like, for example, when we first met Brad, one of the things Brad really wanted to do was meet Robert Kiyosaki. So here's Brad, a very influential person with a big following, and yet he was influenced by Robert Kiyosaki. Well, you know, Robert Helms and I already had a relationship with Robert Kiyosaki, and so one of the things we were able to do to enhance our relationship with Brad was make the introduction. So that where we added value to Brad. And so that's another key concept here, is once you realize who's an influencer, for example, Brad is an influence over lots of people that are interested in investing in real estate and are, whether they know it or not, going to need to learn how to market, going to need to learn how to sell. And so there's some opportunity for us to overlap and do some work together. You know, Robert and I don't teach apartment investing. We teach syndication, but it's very generic. If someone really wants to master apartments, we refer them to Brad. He's better at it than we are, and that's fine. And so we do a sales training class. We do an annual investor summit. We do an annual goals retreat. Those are kind of our three marquee events. And those are a little bit unique. And so people look at that and say, hey, I can send my people to go do that. My point is that when you understand who influences the influencers, you begin to learn how to get influence over influencers yourself. Just like when you understand who influences your target market, and you can begin to understand the influencers, you enhance your influence over your target market. So the principles, they kind of build. The next one is, where do the influencers congregate? Where can you get in a room full of influencers? Well, Robert and I were trying to solve that problem. And what we did in 2002 was we created the Investor Summit at sea. It used to be at sea for the last 17 years. We did it on a cruise ship. Last year, because of COVID, we had to do it on a computer screen. And this year, we're doing it at a resort property in beautiful Belize. So we're happy to be back together. And, you know, we're going to see how it is not being on a ship. But we have Brad Sumrock coming out, Robert Kiyosaki coming out, Kim Kiyosaki coming out, Ken McElroy, a guy named George Gammon, who's a really kind of a rising star in kind of macroeconomic thought. All kinds of active real estate investors that have great connections, that run clubs and have their own podcast. Probably 15 different podcasters are coming. So these are influencers. Where do they congregate? They congregate in a room, in a party we throw. And some people get into that room by attending, paying to attend, and that's a way to get in the room. Other people, organize their own events and book speakers. We have a student that is actually booked, a guy named Jason Hartman, some of you may know, and George Gammon and me. When I get back from the summit, I'm going to do a panel on inflation. So you can create these things online. And, I was excited to be on the panel with George and Jason. I have a lot of respect for both those guys, and hopefully they're excited to be on the panel with me. But I didn't start out being an influencer. I didn't start out being somebody that was invited to speak anywhere. I was just, a corporate sales guy like anybody else. But I took the things I knew about marketing and I applied them to being in this business. And little by little, I ratcheted up my brand to where I have a following and I have an audience. And, there's a lot of people bigger than me. And I'm not saying I'm all that, but what I am saying is that if I can do it, you can do it. And that's really the point. And this is exactly how I've done it. I've taught this for many, many years. I've seen other people do it. You can do it too. So this is a very, very important concept. The idea of learning your target market and then working through influence to get in front of that market with good positioning. That's the lesson here. Okay, and then ultimately, to get the efforts of the influencers on your side, you need to find out what they need. Because if you bring the influencer something they need, then their influence goes to work for you. So for example, we found out that Robert Kiyosaki was a big fan of G. Edward Griffin, the man who wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island. And even though Robert could have picked up the telephone and called Ed Griffin any time, and Ed would have happily taken the call and they could have gotten together, for whatever reason, they didn't do it. Same thing with Peter Schiff. And so because Robert Helms and I had a relationship with G. Edward Griffin and a relationship with Peter Schiff, we introduced Robert Kiyosaki to both of those people. Because there was no amount of money we could give Kiyosaki. He's already got all the money he wants. We had to find something else to give him that he would want, that would be advantageous to him and build goodwill with him. And that's what we did. And we do that all the time. So a lot of times, you can give things as simple as a testimonial, which I'm going to talk about in the bonus session, as a way to get into a good relationship with an influencer. So these are very, very important questions. And here's probably the most important question. You have to think about, what is your positioning in the eyes of the influencers? And what is your value? What value can you bring? So you have to kind of take an inventory of everything you have to work with. And, don't think in financial terms, because those are limiting. Think in terms of time, talent, and relationships. A lot of times you can bring your hustle, you can bring an idea, you can bring a skill, you can bring an introduction, you can bring a referral, you can find a way to add value. And when you understand kind of what your angle is, then you can enter into that relationship playing a strong hand, develop the relationship, and then ultimately get that influencer's influence working for you. And so if you want great answers, you got to ask great questions. This is a great list of questions. Hopefully you took some notes and you're going to go and put some work into that, because it's very important. All right. So these are just some simple steps for building a strong personal brand. They're not uber complicated. The first one is presentation. Do you look the part? Do you show up? Do you walk, talk, dress, drive? Do you look the part? Do you look like someone that somebody would think is diligent, honest, capable? If you don't look that part, then you have to ask yourself, what do I need to change about my presentation so that I look the part, that I look like the type of person people would trust big money with? That's number one. Number two is, who do you associate with? So it's not just how you show up, but who do you show up with? Where do you show up? You can participate in organizations, you can join clubs, you can form relationships with influencers and use social media and other ways to paint a picture of these associations. Now, you don't want to overplay your hand. You don't want to be like, this big name dropping person that's just trying to, build yourself up. But it's just good to be seen in the right crowds. And so put some work into that. Invest some time into it. Invest some money into it. It's an investment. You're not spending money, you're investing money. And as a creative business person, it's up to you to figure out how to get the return on investment. But building your brand is a wonderful investment. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it, but you do have to put some thought into it. After your associations, eventually you're going to get some endorsements. You hang around people long enough and you say, oh yeah, I've known that person for a long, long time. I keep mentioning Robert Kiyosaki because I know a lot of you know him, and I kind of opened up the presentation with him. But if you hear Robert will talk about the real estate guys, and he talks about us being friends for, 20 years. And, so that took some time, but after a little while hanging around with him, we started getting some really strong endorsements. And that's great. And there's other people. I mean, there's people who aren't household names or big, celebrities in an industry the way Kiyosaki is, that are also influential. I mean, it could just be somebody that runs a local club or meetup and they have nice things to say about you. That's great. So, look for those opportunities to impress the right people whose endorsements will really matter to you. Ultimately, you have to get some accomplishments. And, one of the great ways to do that is to co-sponsor a deal with an experienced person and then get that deal on your resume. And Brad can teach you all about that. I won't spend any time on that. But the point is, at some point, you can't just show up good, look good, talk good, hang out with the right people. At some point, you actually have to do something. You have to put up or shut up. But you don't have to have accomplishments before you can go build a brand. A lot of us are afraid to go out there and hold ourselves out there because we're concerned that, we're kind of fakers. Well, you're not faking. I call it be who you're becoming. Act as if, but I don't believe in acting. I mean, change who you are and behave as that person you're becoming. And soon the actual results will show up in your life, and then you'll have those. And ultimately, the most important one is just integrity. And when I say integrity, I mean, being what you see is what you get. And so you don't want to be one person on stage. You don't want to be one person in a deal and another person online or another person, offline or whatever, and you want to be consistent. You want to continually show up, because one of the things that people care about a lot when they're investing their money is they want to make sure that their money is with someone they can count on. They don't like being surprised. There's a lot of things you like surprises on. But your money is not one of them. People want to know. I mean, yeah, they'd like to have a pleasant surprise to the upside, but any types of wild surprises where they catch you out of character can cause people to doubt who you are and whether or not they can really trust you. So, those are my core messages. We have created a training based on my 40 years in sales and marketing, and having tried to coach syndicators by pointing them at different places, but I've never found a training that really did it well. My training came from IBM, Xerox, Tom Hopkins, whose training is available, and then just a lot of years of experience building business-to-business relationships and cultivating a brand, learning how to sell intangibles. When you can take somebody out for a test drive in a car, they can see it, they can feel it, they can imagine what it's like to be in that car. It's not a hard sell. You just have to work out the numbers. But when you're talking to somebody about their financial future, when you're talking to them about making an investment that's going to make them money, and you really want to get them emotionally engaged in that opportunity, you have to help them understand what that money could do for them. It's not just money, it's retirement, it's time with family, it's an opportunity to volunteer, to make charitable contributions, to take care of an ailing parent or sibling. Those are things that are matters of the heart. And when you know how to sell at that heart level, you become extremely effective. And it's not manipulative, it's helping people achieve their dreams, but you got to unlock them first, because people tend to hesitate. When it's time to make a decision, they don't move unless they're emotional. So, the word in emotion is motion, emotion, right? If you want somebody to move, they got to be emotional. Now, you don't manipulate them. You take what's in their heart and you just draw it to the surface so they can see it. So we teach you how to do that in 2 days. It's a fantastic thing. We only do it once a year. We just got done doing it. So not going to do it again till probably next spring or summer. But if you're interested in learning more about that, you can send an email to sumrocksales at realestateguysradio.com. Sumrock Sales at realestateguysradio.com. We'll get you information on it. And then Brad, I think that's the
All
first
right.
half of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Russ. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Russ. That was fantastic content. Really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this. And I heard some juicy details that you are going to save for our VIP backstage. So all you VIPs out there, I see you all out there still hanging in there with us. Nancy and Palmy and Mike and Samantha. Good to see you guys. Mike, everybody. Woohoo! Russ, thank you so much. Oh, and your camera's working now. Great. So I appreciate all the knowledge that you just dropped. That was extremely valuable. I want you to just hang tight with us because we're going to announce our contest winners, and then we're going to bring you backstage so you can share all the juicy little details that you were going to go into, especially about influencers. That's very, very exciting. So congratulations, all of you. Day 2. We did it. You made it. Give yourselves a round of applause and a pat on the back. Thank you for being here with us. So our contest winners, from the homework that we had for yesterday, I have 3 winners, and we are going to be giving out some Amazon gift cards. So those of you who did the homework, fantastic. We deliberated, and our top 3 winners are Diane Stein. Woohoo! Diane, way to go. Remember, the homework was, what is your why, and what are you committed to over the next 5 days? So great job on that. Also, we have Annie Irizarry. Way to go, Annie. And Rebecca Armstrong. Woohoo! So way to go. We are our winners today. Remember, the homework for tomorrow is what are your GP goals as a general partner and your SMART goals. So everybody on Facebook Live, thank you for joining us. Everybody in the Zoom VIP, stay with us. We're going to bring you backstage, but everybody on Facebook, bye for now. We'll see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And thanks for being here with us. Backstage, let's go. Woohoo! All right, we got Russ Gray backstage, everybody on Zoom. We're gonna turn on our little backstage light over here and have a little fireside chat. What's up, Miss Jen Sumrock in the house? Hi, Russ. Yes.
Hey there. I don't see anybody but myself.
Okay.
Awkward.
Well, we can see you. Thank you
But
for
it's
being
okay.
on.
I can see you guys now. I had to go to gallery view. Okay, perfect.
Fantastic.
Well, now I
so
see.
these
Okay.
are our top, top of the top right here, our VIPs. Ruth Hiller, I love the pom-pom. Way to go. Everybody took action here to ensure that they got the backstage pass to get all the juicy details and drop all that knowledge. So, Russ, your presentation was very, very powerful. And, something that really resonated with me was just it's relevant, and marketing and sales changes. There's so much going on in the market, in the industry. And so you teased a little bit about influencers, and so I wanted you to share that with us backstage here.
Okay, well, I'm trying to figure out how to work all my equipment here. So I do have a couple more slides which I can go into.
Okay, awesome.
Because I didn't know if this was going to be like a Q&A thing.
We will have some Q&A, so if there's any
well,
Q&A
let me just roll
questions-
into and just cover these topics real quick. So let's see. It should be that screen. There we go.
Bonus.
Woohoo! We like that.
Okay, so this is the bonus stuff. So here's the deal. I think, the idea of influencing is when you sell an influencer to be your ambassador, you really compress time frames. I mean, if you think about it, if you were to go out there and you were to try to find 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people to talk to about your deal, and you had to turn over rocks one person at a time, that is a long slog. But when you can get